Hey, yo, Topaz.
Hey, yo, Web B.
What's up, dude? Hey,
What's up, brother?
I think we've had some issues trying to get live stream going and everything, but we are currently live on twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin as well as kick.com/WebbyPumpkin. So if you guys ever want to hang out with us and a live opportunity, that's the best way to do it. You just go ahead and smash that follow there. But otherwise, we've kind of hashed this out while we've been working on some of the tech issues already, but it's been a little while since you've been live on the stream.
It's been a minute.
Exactly 60 seconds, as a matter of fact, because we've had tech issues. But before that, it was it's been a while back, and we were trying to remember what happened, and I remembered that we played Fortnite.
We did.
One of your first experiences of Fortnite. And,
the best experience of my life.
Well, I don't believe you because you logged in and you bought the Fortnite crew, but then you didn't play again for 8 months or something?
Probably
a long
2
time.
years.
2 years.
I don't know. It was a long time.
All I remember is that when you started playing again, which was like this chapter before the one we're in now, you were like, bro, I got so many V-Bucks because you forgot that you had bought that. And so you had so many V-Bucks, and then how many V-Bucks do you have left?
Probably like 700. That's probably not. Nope, that's true. That's not true. 200.
200.
Yes, I need
Wow.
more. I need more V-Bucks.
So what you're telling me is you've really enjoyed the game.
Yeah, man. Too much,
That's awesome.
and it's still going today. So.
Well, hey, guys that are watching live and everything, we've got a really great show for you guys planned today. And if you didn't get to check out the show live, that's totally fine. You can listen back, or if you want to come back, if you are watching live, you want to hear it again, you can find us everywhere you enjoy your podcast in audio form. Just look up the Web Show with 2 B's, or in video format as an archive form over on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/c/WebbyPumpkin. Love to have you guys there. Topaz, you ready to do this thing?
Let's get ready.
Let's have a great time, bro. All right, man. I think we have a really, really fun episode planned. I hope it's not too controversial for us, but what I thought would be kind of fun is if we took a look at every home console that's ever been released, and we rank those from S tier to D tier. Now, of course, we're going to have some game systems that we've just never seen or had our hands on or done anything like that. And so of those, there is a category called no experience we can put them in. But yeah, what do you think, man? You've played a lot of video games, huh?
I've had my share of games.
Yeah.
Many I wish I played more of, but
man, isn't that everybody's story? Like every true gamer story goes something like, man, I love gaming. I wish I had more time to game. But the problem is that if you have time to game, you don't have money to buy them. And if you work or find streams of income to try to afford this hobby, because it's getting expensive. I mean, like it's $1,000 just to be a PlayStation and an Xbox fan.
Right.
You know, then you're looking at not having any time. So that is the conundrum of the gamer. So what we're gonna do today is we're gonna make it easier for you guys to make sure that you place your hard-earned dollars and your allowance money and all that, gamers. We're going to make sure that you place that into the best possible systems that you could have because of this objective and absolutely 100% correct tier list that we're going to do. So we've got a slew of games here. Let's go ahead and look at them. T. So right here alone, I think, unless there's some obscure things that I haven't seen, I think that I've pretty much got every home console from at least the big four. If you can consider Sega a big four. At one point, they were a big contender. But we got the Sony here, we got the Microsoft here, we've got the Nintendo, we've got Sega. So we got our big four. I thought about including Atari, but I just don't know if it definitely has a place in history, but I don't really know if it has enough of a footprint any longer to merit a conversation about getting one. Like they're expensive if you find a good one, and then most people aren't playing them. But I do give homage to the fact that they're a big part of gaming history, of course. But that being said, I think I've got everything represented here and variants. So you notice like there's the PlayStation 1, but there's also, so there's the original PlayStation, but there's also the PlayStation 1. There's the original PlayStation 2 or PS2, but there's also the PS2 Slim. And you'll see those, because those variants, even though they're the same console, like they added something significant to, I guess, to that generation. Like if there was a variant like that. I almost threw in the Panasonic Cube. Do you know what I'm talking about when I say Panasonic Cube?
Nope.
Panasonic partnered with Nintendo to make like a Philips. Is it? Or maybe it's Philips Cube. No, it's Panasonic, I think.
Thought you said pentatonic.
No, Panasonic. They made a GameCube. It's like silver, and it plays DVDs and different things like that, as well as GameCube games. And it has a really cool chrome like GameCube controller that actually doesn't say GameCube on it.
Do you know the year?
Panasonic, the year that the Panasonic Cube came out? I don't, but let's find out.
Let's look at this thing.
So this is what, here, let's just show everybody. This is what it looks like. I was hoping to get a better picture than what I got, but this is on Nintendo.fandom. That's what it looks like.
That is weird.
And I think that I can find a better picture of this than what we have here if I just go to Google Images. Absolutely. Yeah, there we go. Came with a remote, of course.
Oh my God. It's a
And,
karaoke machine.
Oh, no, it's not a karaoke machine. It's a DVD player. But
Oh
it's a
my
DVD
gosh.
player that it had the tray that when it comes out, like had the smaller inner disc
Mm-hmm.
so that you could put GameCube games in it. These things go for heckin' money. Like here's one on eBay right here for $1,800.
Mm.
These things go for heckin' money because they were like, it's kind of hard to tell in that picture, but they were like mirrored on the front and like platinum. But I think what I think is the coolest thing, like here's a good like view of how just mirrored and shiny the finish is on it. But what I think is a really, really good, like a really, really cool thing that I wish I could have. I don't care about the Q, is the controller, because it is an official licensed Nintendo GameCube controller, like that doesn't say GameCube.
Yeah.
I just think that is so cool. Here's a comparison of it next to an actual GameCube.
Wonder what the load up screen was it like the same?
I think it depends on what mode you had it in. Like if you were in, DVD mode, then it worked like a Panasonic DVD player. But if you were in GameCube like mode, then you had the little.
Did we see the year? I forgot to
Let's
even
find
pay
out.
attention.
Release. It was released in. Let's find out.
21?
Wait, what?
I mean,
2001.
01?
01, yeah. I'd say definitely wasn't last year. December of 2001.
Hmm.
And so, yep. I think that's interesting. An interesting little piece of history, but very, very nuanced. Like you were a huge GameCube fan. You're a Nintendo guy. You hadn't even heard of it. So for that reason, and it was expensive then. It was like $500.
I mean, I was
then.
11 years old.
Fair. Well, it was like $500 then, but everybody had PS2s. That was their DVD thing, and this, high dollars now. So it's not very accessible, and so it's for that reason that I didn't end up putting it on this list. So that was the reason for that. So yeah, why don't we just go ahead and jump in? What do you think is the best way to tackle this conundrum? I think so. Primarily for your life, you've been a PlayStation guy, really, right? Or would you say if you had to like narrow it down to like the one you have the most time in, is it Nintendo or is it Sony?
I would say now it's Sony.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll go with Sony.
Okay. Well, with that being the case, I was thinking that maybe we pick a brand. Like we'll start with Sony and we rank all of Sony stuff, and then we jump into say Nintendo. Then we jump into Microsoft, and after we've ranked all that, then as we're putting them up here, we can start placing them, or we can start having conversations about is this console better than that one? Like after we see it, because it helps me to visualize where it's at to decide if, like, say if I think the Series X is better than the PS5 and yada yada. You get the idea?
Yeah.
So let's jump in with Sony. That sound good to you?
Let's do it, bro.
All right. The first, let's do it in order. So initially, we've got the original PlayStation. Do you have any just immediate places where you think it belongs?
No.
Okay. I'm going to throw it where I think it belongs, and you tell me if you agree.
I mean, I was thinking B.
Okay. Well, easy. Then we just agree. It's B.
Yeah, let's agree.
Yeah.
Right there. It'll
And
probably move around.
I've got reasons. I love the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation is or the first PlayStation is technically the PlayStation 1 is what I cut my teeth on. Like that was the first console that I ever owned. It's on the shelf behind me. Like it was mine. Like there was a 10-year-old Webby Pumpkin that played the stew out of that. And I don't know why I didn't take stickers off, but it even still has the little yellow price tag of how much my parents paid for it at a pawn shop, which I think is crazy, but I love it. And so now that's the PlayStation 1. So interesting thing here also, for those of you who don't know, when I keep saying the difference in the original PlayStation and the PS1, that's because that was before Slim was like the term. And so the smaller version of the original PlayStation was just called the PS0 or ONE. PS1 is what it's called. So and that's the next one.
Oh, okay.
That's this one right here.
That's PS1.
That's PS1.
Right.
And this and the one in the B category right here, that's the original PlayStation.
Right. Okay.
For me, this is an A tier console.
Look at you.
What do you think? Do you agree?
I would have no experience with that one. So
do you want me to tell you why I think it beats out the original PlayStation?
Go ahead.
Because of the DualShock 1 controller.
Okay.
We got analog sticks. And analog sticks introduced games like Ape Escape. It brought that's why there was an analog button. You could press the analog button on it and it would take older games that used the D-pad and it would allow you to use the left analog stick as your joystick basically. And personally, I think there's a reason we see analog sticks on every modern controller now. They were innovative, they were game-changing, and they didn't wear out. I've got PS1 controllers in that cabinet back there that still work, that work almost like they were brand new. Of course, I took pretty good care of them, but like I said, I played the mess out of it. And you can't say that about the N64 controller joystick because they were always rubbing and wearing out. So they made a good product. And I think it brought a lot of value to the PS1 games that I really enjoyed. So it's for that reason, because of the controller that came with it, that I think it's an A tier. And of course, I have some nostalgia there. PS2 fat, man. Where does it belong?
PS2 fat. I don't even remember. Well, I did have a PlayStation 2. I don't know if I had the Slim or the original. I really feel like
I think I know where I think I know where
I had maybe both. Let's put that thing.
You want to hear where I think it goes?
Yeah.
I think this is an S tier console.
Okay.
Do you want? And I'm gonna throw it there unless you can convince me otherwise. Do you agree, or how do you feel about it? Of course, I'm looking at these through the glasses of their time period as well.
Okay.
Like obviously you can't play Horizon Forbidden West on a PS2 console. But when you look at what it did for gaming and how it holds up today, like this is probably one of the most emulated, other than some older Nintendo stuff, this is one of the most emulated Sony consoles or most sought after Sony ones because the library of games was massive. It is to this day still the #1 best-selling console of all time. Like Nintendo Switch sold a lot, and they're still selling, around 2 million or so every year, and they still haven't sold as many units as the PS2. So it was packaged as a DVD player and a console, and that gave it an awful lot of push in families because the DVD players were like $300-400 at the time. So for that price, you could get a PS2. Play your DVDs because they had the remotes for it too, and play video games. It was just a no-brainer.
Yep.
And that was true about all the PS2s, but I don't think I could put the other PS2 in the S tier because even though it's part of the total sales, this one had expansion ports on it. You could put a hard drive in it. It had an Ethernet port on the back. It was one of the first consoles that I'm aware of that allowed you to play online with people. Granted, it had an online browser. You had to put a disk in it to access the browser, but you could go on the internet through dial-up with this thing. I just think it's an incredible console, and it has stood the test of time. When we talk about some of the games that we want to go back and play, like Tak and the Power of Juju and stuff like that, when I think of those games, I see them on the PS2. Or when I think of what was it? The Ty the Tasmanian Tiger. Or all those Spyro games, even though they had 360 releases or GameCube releases. Yeah, I picture those games through the window. Of course, I'm a Sony baby, but I picture those through the window of the PS2. And I didn't even own a PS2 fat. I bought a PS2 Slim like 4 years after it came out. So anyway,
I think that's a good spot. Yeah.
I think it's a good spot for it. All right, well that begs the question then. The PS2 Slim, where do you think it goes?
Man, put that thing right there in B.
In B?
Okay, put it in A.
About to say, I think it had. All right, before or after the PS1?
I would say before because
I agree.
know.
And
Okay.
and for anybody this is their first time ever seeing a tier list like this, like they don't normally see these. How it works is whatever's closest to the left here is the best. So ultimate, and then better, like less good, less good, less good, less good, less good, less good, less good sucks completely. You should never play it. That's kind of how this works. So if you've never seen one of these tier maker lists before, all right, where are we at? Oh my gosh, we're already on the PS3. We're making great time. How our brains are so wrinkly. Let's go. All right. Ooh.
PS3
PS3 original. Well, we're going in order that they came out, right? That's what we've been doing.
Yes.
All right, so we got our regular PS3 Fat.
Wait.
Okay.
What is that next to it right there?
That's the PS3 Slim. And then I wonder if it'll let me move this over here. It will. Okay, so we got I'll do it in correct order.
What did I
This
have?
is the PS3, the PS3 Slim, and the PS3 Super Slim. I've got opinions on these. What are you worried? What are you thinking?
I'm trying to see what I had. I might have had the original Blu-ray.
Yeah, they all play Blu-rays, but yeah.
Started with.
Could you play PS2 games on yours?
I think so.
Then you had the first one. So the thing that I like the most about the original PS3, it was very expensive. It was way too expensive, and that kind of broke it. And
Mine
took over.
Was a gift,
but it was super. It was more expensive than what the PS5 is, or right around that price. And but the cool thing about it, in my opinion, and if I were to buy a PS3 today, I would want the fat one, even though it had some heating issues. Because it could play PS3 games, PS2 games, and PS1 games.
Yeah.
You could play all of them. It rounds it out. They drop support for PS2 on both of the later models. I think if I'm not mistaken, they'll still play PS1 games, but they will not play PS2 games, which sucks because most PlayStation people, the PS2 library was their big one. Remember, that was best-selling console. They've got, I mean, if you look at my shelf behind me right now, it's mostly PS2 games.
Yeah.
Even still, and I didn't even have that many. So, anyway, that's my thoughts on there. Where do you think the fat one goes? I think it goes here.
You think it goes after PS1?
Yeah.
Okay.
And the reason for that is because it was too expensive and it overheated. So, like, even though I think it's really cool, I think it's the best of the three PS3s because you can do so much with it. But it wasn't like a failure or anything. It was just, it was almost cost prohibitive. Like, they sold so many of these. It was like Sony thought, hey, we can do whatever we want. We're Sony. We sold this. And then they released this, and they had to cut the price to sell more. And then they cut the price a lot with the Slims. How they did that was they cut out the functionality for PS2, so it made it cheaper for them to produce. And it was also kind of a nightmare to develop for, because like it had its own like ecosystem that, well, I mean, most games before the PS4 were like this, but it had its own like ecosystem that you had to develop for, which was kind of complex. They changed the UI, and some people didn't like that, but it's for that reason that it had its own ecosystem that it's so hard to emulate. It's why you don't see PS3 emulation. It's also why the PS4 and the PS5 can't locally emulate it. So if you have PS Plus right now, you'll notice that you can download your PS1 games, your PS2 games through PS Plus Premium. You can actually download those to your console and play them, or you can stream them, but you can only stream PS3 games. And the reason for that is because it's just so hard to emulate. The only way they can do it effectively is to stream it to you. So I think that held it back. I think the PS2 did a lot to skyrocket everything, and personally I think the PS1 was simpler and better, so I would have to put it behind PS1. What do you think? I asked you at the wrong time. I asked you while you were drinking. My bad.
Dude, I don't know, because I haven't played the PS1. But it being up there in that A list, it's good.
All right. PS3 PS3 Slim. I'm just gonna throw it where I think it goes. You tell me if you agree, okay?
Okay.
Top of B. Oh. You disagree?
So many years ago. How old am I? I don't know.
We can tell everybody how old you are if you want them to know, but we don't have to.
I said I don't know.
That's right.
I don't know how old I am. But
Yeah, we
no.
told everybody in the last episode how old you were. So
Hey, I'm not.
you got younger actually from that episode to this
I
one.
love my age.
Mm-hmm.
Psych. I got a chip in my throat. Just a second. Shucks. Yeah.
You agree?
Yeah.
All right. PS3 Super Slim.
Don't know what that is.
All right, so it's basically the PS3 Slim, but you have to manually open the door with your hand, and it's all like cheap plastic. I think
D.
D.
I don't know. I've never played it, but that
fine with
that description you gave me sounded horrible.
I'm fine with that. That's totally fine with me. PS4 original.
Love it.
You love it?
Yep.
Where would you put it? PS4. Where
I
would you
put it at the top of A.
Seriously?
Yep. I love the design. The design was good and it stood. And it I think the menu kind of did PlayStation 3 have a different kind of menu, updated menu? I don't know.
And the interface, the
Yeah,
PS3 one was rough.
Yeah,
It was really bad. The PS4 definitely simplified it.
right.
Okay.
I enjoyed that. I still don't think I don't know about the 2. Because I can't remember.
That's really the only thing that's I'm hanging up on right now is does it become before or after the PS2 Slim?
Mhm.
That's really because all right, so this is jumping ahead a little bit, but when it comes to the PS4s, I think there is a PS4 that belongs in like a good category, but it's not this one.
Is it the Pro?
For me, it's the Pro.
Mm-hmm.
Because we got 4. I mean, even though it would drop to like 30 and everything, if you remember when the PS4 came out, it would just about cook itself because it couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
And so
yeah, I did have
both the Slim, like the PS4 Slim, fixed that a little bit,
Yeah.
and the PS4 Pro, it has those 2 slots so that it has air intake.
I remember I had
so-
that long. It was like a long fan that you connect to the back of the
Uh-huh.
PlayStation 4, the original, and yeah.
You just about had to have it because
Yeah.
it just got so hot. It just got so hot. And mine was like a jet engine. Like, so I had a black PS4 first, and then I bought the like Star Wars PS4 Pro because I wanted a glacier
at
white
you.
one. It looked so good. Well, I had a Xbox One S, so I wanted them both to be white
Mhm.
and they were both white with black embellishing. It looked very Stormtrooper. It was really cool. And so they're both in the living room now. But anyway, I got that one. And I remember it would still kick up that fan a lot too, like especially playing things like God of War. But I remember how much cooler it was, and it was actually, in my opinion, a little quieter because the fan didn't have to all the time. It was a little bit quieter than
See,
the
I don't have that
PS4.
experience. I don't have experience with the Slim or the Pro.
Uh-huh.
My experience come from just the PlayStation itself, and I played that thing out. I played that thing a lot. But Pros release all these new all the updates release to make it better,
Right.
a better experience. So I agree with you. So yeah, I think you should put that Pro where you want to put it.
See, I think generally that's right about the newer ones improved. That obviously wasn't the case with the PS3, but I agree. I think I agree with you there. See, for me, it actually is telling me a little bit about you too, or helping me understand you a little bit better, because I remember you were really into that jump from the PS4 to the PS5.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it makes a lot of sense because you had like a good distance between those two.
Mm-hmm.
I had a PS4 Pro,
Mm-hmm.
and really I wish I would have gotten the PS5 sooner, but I was able to hold off because my experience was good enough. Like I played Miles Morales, like Spider-Man Miles Morales on a PS4 Pro. I still played it at 4K. I
Yeah.
played it at 4K 60. It did dip a little bit and everything, but that's at the time I didn't have a monitor that could have done any better anyway. But so other than the adaptive triggers from the PS5, I didn't have really a different experience. But now we're in a realm where because back then, they were making them cross-plat. It was you were still developing for the least common denominator. But now we're in an era where everything is developed for this generation we're in. It's for the Series X and S. It's for the PS5. And so now I don't think I would have had that good of experience. I still think I've thought about doing this. If I put an SSD in my PS4 Pro, it would still really hold its own because, but I use it as a streaming device. It streams really great. I'll stream my PS5 from my room into the living room, so I can do it like that. And then that's pretty much what I do with my Xbox One also in there. But it's so slow.
My gamer tag said this is an agreeable tier list.
Yep. He's right. He has good taste. All right. So I think we're saying then that the PS4 Pro, wherever it is, I know we jumped ahead a little bit. Here it is, goes here.
Yeah.
Ooh, no, it goes here.
Yeah.
And if I were to put the PS4 anywhere, I think I'd put it there.
I like that.
You like that?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Your opinions
Actually,
on
I don't know about the 2 though, but of its time, I guess.
PS4 Slim.
I don't know about that thing.
I think this is the one that I don't want to dox him, but a coworker that we used to both have. This is the one he had.
Okay.
And he's super musical. He's also good with like online stuff. You know what I'm talking about? He had awesome hair. I don't want to dox him.
We used to have?
Yep. Yeah, he's no longer a coworker for either of us.
Oh, okay.
You follow me?
Yeah.
This is what he had. And he played the stew out of it and really liked it. He brought it up to work before and like hooked it up inside of the studio and we checked it out and I actually thought it worked really great and it really was kind of quiet. And so for me, I think it's if you're not going to get a Pro, if you're going to save your money, that's the way to go. Like get the Slim, and so I would put it before the PS2 Slim.
Okay.
You feel good about that?
Yeah, man.
Bro, we're up to where you're at now. PS5 and PS5 digital. They're technically the same thing, other than that optical drive. And so this is really about to just be wherever they go. I think they're right next to each other.
Discs need to go in S.
You think?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Why? Defend the antithesis. Why is the disc one an S tier?
Because all my old stuff, and then for me, my opinion, I like collecting discs. I like collecting stuff in digital. It's more convenient for a lot of people, but for me, it's what I already have, and if I can just put what I have in there, then that's great. I love it. And that went on with everything else. I like to have the collection of the discs, but I don't know.
Here's the thing. I would generally agree with you, and for every tier before this, I would totally agree with you. I like having my game on the shelf so that no matter what happens, when Nintendo pulls an eShop or drops support, I can still play my game.
Right.
I love all that. But in the PS4 era, like PS4, Xbox One, we definitely shifted to a point where that game disc matters a lot less. So it's an authenticator now. Like for example, God of War Ragnarok, when we purchased it, it's a 128 gigabyte game, if I remember right, and 100 of it has to be downloaded. That means that if the internet goes out tomorrow, if you lose internet, or if they pull the servers and support for that game, if PS5 does that, it doesn't matter if you have the disc, can't play it anyway. It's literally just a collector's. It's just a piece of plastic that you're collecting. And so it hurts my heart a little bit to talk about it like this, but we live in a modern era, and this is more important to me when it comes to Xbox, but the majority of games that I currently play today, even though I am a collector and I want to have these things, are either fully digital or mostly digital. And so that's where it gets me. Like my favorite game of all time, you guessed it. What is it?
Sparrow.
Yeah, it's Sparrow the bird. No, it's Spyro the Dragon. With a Reignited trilogy, they did a good job in that the entire first game is on the disc, and the entire first game is on the cartridge for the Switch as well. But if you want to play 2 and 3, 3 is actually my favorite. You actually have to download it. So even that wasn't fully on the disc. So I just don't know if it actually mattered as much. I still think I agree with you. I was playing devil's advocate a little bit. I still think I agree with you that it belongs higher than the series or than the digital version because the price difference is so minuscule. Like it's $50 different. It's such a minuscule price difference that I have to say that it's worth it for no other reason than the ability to purchase pre-owned, to share or like loan games like we have done and everything. The $50 is worth that freedom.
Yeah.
But it's not because of the collection for me, because I don't really think the collection matters. Just because of the way games work now. And now that they have PS Plus extra and premium out, a lot of the way that I game on these systems is downloaded anyway. So that's why I think it is. I actually do agree with you on S tier. I think it has to come after the PS2. What do you think?
I just don't understand you and this PS2 thing.
It's the best console.
You have
of
a
all
great
time.
memory, young man.
I didn't even own one. I mean, yes, I have owned one. Let me explain that a little bit better. I own a PS2, but I didn't own when I got my PS2, the PS3 was coming out. To put that into perspective, and even a generation late, like imagine, the PS5 came out and you just got your first PS4 Pro. But even with me being a generation late, of course, the PS3 had a rocky start because it was too expensive and a lot of people didn't really buy into it. When it came out, people were still making PS2 games because you could play them on the PS3 and more people had PS2. So even with me starting a generation late, I never ran out of anything to play on the PS2. And some of the best games, so obviously Spyro is my favorite. It was a PS1 game. But some of the best PlayStation games I ever played, I have a hard time saying this. I think the best ones I ever played were on the PS2. That's hard.
Was Spider-Man like the one
like
of
the
the
Tobey
first...
Maguire movie ones?
Yeah.
They're all PS2.
Yeah. Okay. I
think they were GameCube also, but
I don't remember that, but I do remember PlayStation. I enjoyed them on PlayStation too.
Man, I got tons. I'm just gonna turn around and look at my PlayStation.
At your collection.
All right, like Beyond Good and Evil and Spyro's and some. I had third-party games as well, like 007, but I've got the Spider-Man game there, Sonic things there. Ape Escapes. Oh, okay. Actually, the best Ape Escape is the PS1 version, but then Ape Escape 2 and Ape Escape 3 were both PS2, and they are PS2 exclusives. It was really good. Mortal Kombat Armageddon. Great on the PS2. Played super well. So these are just some of my collection that I really enjoyed. I didn't have any lack. I didn't have any lack of game options. However, I say all that to say, everything I just listed are really good. Dragon Ball Z Budokai Tenkaichi, I played it on PS2. All those games. All of that was I don't know if I said that right, but Budokai Tenkaichi. I don't know.
I think it's Tenkaichi.
I don't know. Someone correct us in the chat or in the comments. But all that to say, it was I had plenty of great games to play. However, when I think back to my favorite games I played as a kid, they were actually all PS1 games. That I could play those on my PS2.
Mm-hmm.
And I did, because my PS2 had a wireless controller. I still have it. I collecting. I'll have to show it to you. So I could not only play my PS1 games, I could play them, because I didn't have that long extension cord. I could play them laying in my bed while I had swine flu. It was great.
Hey, Sonic Soda.
What up, dude? Hey, you got here for the web show. All right, so for me, I'll tell you what I'd be willing to consent.
Mm-hmm.
All right, ready? I'd be willing, because I feel like you want this PS5 in the top tier, don't you? Well, actually, I feel like you do, but I want to ask you a question. If you are leaning towards wanting it in the top tier, which I think is what you're doing, right? Do you want it in the top tier because it's the newest and what you're enjoying right now? Or do you want it in the top tier because it truly is the best of all time? Because I don't know if we can, because putting it in the top S tier is
best
implying,
of its time.
I don't know if that's true. I love this console, don't get me wrong, but I don't actually know. It's the best. So of its time, which is right now, current gen, is the PS5 disc actually the best way to experience games right now?
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Especially,
with your whole digital spiel, makes sense.
I feel like you want it there because it is the best that Sony currently has to offer.
Mm-hmm.
It obviously is better graphics, is more. It's I think what would it be? Somewhere around 12,000 times the power of the PS2. Like it's Yes, yes, but
And there's no
Uh,
memory card. Well, there's the hard drive, but
right, but
getting away from that memory card.
but the PS5 can't even stay on the shelf. They can't manufacture.
It can
it
stay
because
on my shelf.
Some of it's,
No.
I know some of it's COVID related and everything like that,
Yeah.
and Silicon Valley. I know that's some issues, but Xbox ramped up. They made it work, so Sony should have been able to make it work. And it still hasn't outsold the PS2. Like that's
Mhm.
still a greater selling console, even though the PS5 disc can also play Blu-ray. Well, that's not really a fair comparison because nobody's really watching discs anymore. I
Right.
recognize, other than collectors. Like my favorite, one of my favorite cartoons of all time is the Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mhm.
I do have that entire series on Blu-ray because I
Me
want
too.
it. Really, I've got Legend of Korra as well, but it's not on Blu-ray. It's on DVD because it wasn't as good. That's all right.
I loved it.
Before or after, you make the decision. I'll go whatever.
Hey,
Before or after
that's
PS2?
good right there.
You sure?
Yeah, that's
All
good.
right. So you're conceding that goes there then?
Yeah.
All right. I think we fully agree. There it is, chat, for you to see. All right. Are we through all the PlayStations now? We are through all the PlayStations. Bro, you ready to be a Nintendo baby?
Let's do it.
What did you own Nintendo wise? Like what have you owned?
64, GameCube, and Wii.
Wow.
I'm lying. And Switch, not Wii.
So, okay, so you skipped a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Sure did.
Well, we're going to start with the NES. Have you ever played an NES?
Yeah, no.
No.
Wait a
Really?
minute. That's the original?
Yeah. It was Famicom in Japan, but yeah.
Did I play it? Dude, I was probably
Have you ever
a
played
kid.
the original Mario?
Yeah,
All right.
but it might have been like a remake or something.
There was a Super Nintendo one called Super Mario All Stars, and it was 16-bit instead of
Is this
8-bit.
the one where it's like a bunch of games on? Nope, that's
There's a huge library for the NES.
okay. So I
Think on
probably
your
played
Switch, the like Switch Online,
Online.
you have all those, right?
Yeah.
This is the NES ones, those games.
this. Okay.
And there was a lot of people older than me, probably honestly older than you too. A lot of people's
course.
first gaming experience, because our generation or right around our age group, they were the N64 people. Like,
Was this 77?
I don't know when it was, but I'll tell you what, let's find out. We'll look it up. NES release. Now, like I said, there was a Famicom as well, so there might be two release dates, but let's see, North America was 1983.
Okay.
So, yeah, I wasn't born yet, but it was a lot of people's first. I remember playing this at my aunt's house. We played the original Mario and Duck Hunt.
Oh
Duck Hunt was
yeah,
awesome.
so I did play it.
I think it's.
I remember Duck Hunt.
Truthfully, I think it's an A tier console, but
Of
we're
its
on
time.
A tier. Yeah. Well, and even now, like people emulate this all the time. The original Mario Brothers is huge,
You-
like a lot. But you know what? Actually, what about there? I still don't think it deserves B. I don't think it deserves B, but I actually don't think it deserves anything higher in A. And I've got a reason.
Maybe before of its time. Maybe before the 3.
You think before?
I don't know how much
I
it
don't know
sold
if I agree
in its time.
because of this guy's existence.
Okay. Yep.
Because this gave us 2 more buttons, and it was so much more comfortable. It gave us running and you think about it. This is the beginnings of what we saw as a real gamepad. You had ABXY, and you had a D-pad and start and select, and it was everything that you needed. Whereas you only had AB here, and so it was really limiting as a controller. I would put that there all day long.
Yeah.
I can't quite put it above this one because it had analog sticks.
Man, I love the the blowing
Blowing
and the
you were-
slapping.
And you're not supposed to do that.
Well, we did.
Show me, what did it look like again when you do it?
Sound effects. You do sound effects for me.
Sure.
All right, you ready?
Yep.
So this is taken out.
Uh-huh.
Hold on.
You didn't tell me how to do good sound effects.
And then back in.
Why are you doing sound effects, sir?
Sorry.
You put it back in?
Let's start over.
Okay.
Why is this thing not working?
Whoop. That's so stupid. I love it.
If sound effects ruined our lives, or ran
No,
our
you said
lives.
it right. All right. I'm happy. I'm happy with the way that looks. What do you think?
Yeah.
Okay. What's next? N64.
N64. Now that one was an upgrade with the blowing and slapping.
All right, we're gonna have a good conversation here because you really like this console, right?
I really do,
Yeah.
and I played a lot of it.
Do you want me to show you where I would put this thing if I had the option?
You put it in C.
I put it right there.
What?
Mm-hmm. Now I understand this is our list, and that you're gonna pull that up. I know it. I know that a lot of people love it, but I believe it is the least ergonomic,
Mhm.
worst aging, possibly worst console of all time.
Mm.
Changed my mind.
Dude, I know I had many 64 games, Killer Instinct, Mortal Kombat, 007s, all of that stuff. And the upgrade from the square or rectangle disc, and them being so huge, it kind of curved a little bit. And then the switches changing, and then the controller itself changing, and I don't know what that resembles, a spaceship or something. And having that little thing there where you can hold it here or you can hold it here. It's a lot of different upgrades with the Nintendo. Switching from the Nintendo, was that Super Nintendo?
Yeah.
To the 64.
I'm gonna shoot straight with you. I'm having a really hard time following your logic train right now.
I love the upgrade.
What is the upgrade? Help me understand.
Just the whole look of it.
The
The
fact
look
that
of
you
it,
need three
the
hands to
changes
hold
of
the
it.
controller correctly.
Of its time, that was something that we've never experienced before. So that was
Because no one's ever experienced having three hands. You're right. We haven't. We
dude,
still haven't.
I enjoyed it. And I know a lot of kids, a lot of friends of mine.
Mm.
We played a lot of this stuff. And Mortal Kombat was one of the driving games of it. So I enjoyed the 64.
Okay, you say of its time, but it was released in 1996,
Mm-hmm. I was
means-
6 years old, my boy.
which means this is competing with the PS1.
Probably
You can't tell
5
me
going on 6.
that is better than like that for its time. It's 2 years after the PlayStation 1, and you're telling me that the N64 did more, upgraded more, and was the best for its time. Is that what you're telling me?
Where do you have the PlayStation 1?
We currently have the PlayStation 1 at the bottom of B.
The 64 should
technically
be
we have the
somewhere
original
closer.
PlayStation at the bottom of B. We have the PlayStation 1 somewhere near the bottom of A. Just to
64 should be closer.
All right, so you want to put it here?
It's Nintendo. Would Nintendo always follow PlayStation?
I'll tell you what. I'll put it here. I think this is a better console, but this had an analog stick, and you didn't have to have an adapter to play with 4 people.
Mm-hmm.
Almost nobody had 4 controllers because they were expensive,
Mm-hmm.
but you could play the Mario parties and the 4-player games without having to have the split pad thing.
Yeah.
I can concede
Diddy Kong
some
Racing.
value. There's not a chance in heck I'm gonna think that it's better than this. Even if you just look at like the 3D options alone, here we have Ocarina of Time
Yeah.
and like Mario 64, GoldenEye, which were stretched polygons, just didn't age well. And here we have games like Ape Escape and Driver and
Mhm.
Gran Turismo and Spyro that ran, and Crash Bandicoot that just play so much better.
Yeah. Yeah, I
So,
wouldn't put it up in there
I think-
either.
Yeah, and it's crazy because obviously Crash and all that played on this too, and this is 2 years older.
Mm-hmm.
It's so, and honestly, they were working together. Like Nintendo really messed up because the plan was they were going to release a Nintendo PlayStation, and it was going to be a disc-based system, and Nintendo was going to. It was basically, can't remember if it was an add-on for the 64. No, it couldn't have been because it came out first. It was going to be something else, and they basically were like, "We're breaking up with you, Sony. We're going to make the 64." And Sony was like, "Well, we've put all this research into it. We've already gotten to a point. Now let's just make it ourselves." And they did, and it was a commercial success. And then they decided to do it again, and they made the best-selling console of all time. So, and then that established Sony as a real contender, a real competitor against Nintendo. Nintendo could have had that, So shame on you, Nintendo. All right, what's next? Let's see. We got the N64, GameCubes, right? That's the next one.
GameCube.
I think the GameCube.
Put it in the A, man.
Yeah, I think so. I think the GameCube is a great system.
Yeah.
A highly sought after system. I think it doesn't have. They should have used full size discs.
You think?
Yeah, I do. The small discs are cute and really cool, but they hold less data.
Yeah.
And they were more expensive because they're proprietary. They're not DVDs. They're proprietary. And so if they would have done, I know why Nintendo didn't do it, but if they would have done CDs or DVDs technically instead, because this generation would use DVDs, they would have had roughly 3 times, I think, the amount of storage available.
Yeah.
And also it would have been cheaper, and you could have passed that down to your consumers. The system could have been a little bit cheaper, or games could have been cheaper for it. So yeah, I do think so. Now they didn't do it because by having a proprietary method, it makes pirating significantly more difficult. like for example, as a backup, we've talked about emulation before and everything. I've taken my PS1 and my PS2 games, and I don't have this computer anymore. It's the computer I gave you actually, but I would put those in the disk drive on that. And I used a software to basically make an exact image and just rip those discs and copy the ISO. And then I could play those ISO files on my PlayStation emulators. And it was just that simple because it's just a CD or a DVD. You cannot do that with the GameCube disc. You can't just put it in and make a copy. I've tried. It doesn't work. And so it's a bit more difficult to rip your own games. And Nintendo consistently does that. Like they even DMCA'd a Reddit that or post or somewhere, or maybe it was a GitHub, I forget, on where you can get the tool that you need to basically jailbreak your Switch so that you can dump your own ROMs from the Switch. They recently did that. They don't like that. They no like anything like that, which is dumb because it preserves the games. Like it keeps things going. So it's good. Oh well, whatever. Okay, GameCube. Where would you put it, bud? You had one. I didn't have one till I was an adult. So.
Dude, when that GameCube came out, I don't even know what happened to that 64. I just know I think I got, with GameCube, they had those sticker covers or cases.
Yeah.
And
skins.
mine's was, guess what mine's was?
Yours was Twilight Princess.
It definitely was.
Yeah, you told me in the last episode, but
and you remember that?
Of course, I listened to you.
He listens to me.
And
it makes me feel like
there's flowers in your soul.
Makes me feel like a Sundelion.
You're such a Nintendo fanboy.
Let's see. Yeah, so I really played a lot of Zelda. What else did I play? Animal Crossing. I played
Okay.
a lot of that stuff. I would put it in A.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think I know where I'd want it in A too.
And I never got to play around with the stuff on the bottom of the Switch. And I don't know what that stuff does.
On the bottom of the Switch? You mean the GameCube?
Dang it. Yeah, the GameCube.
Some of it never did anything. It was there, but the accessories weren't made for it. Probably the most popular, prominent one.
You mind?
Sure, go for it. Mine's in mint condition though, so be careful. No, probably the most prominent thing would have been the expansion port for the Game Boy player.
Look at this game, dude.
Isn't it in good? It's good condition, isn't it?
Oh my god.
It's a little dusty, but.
Can you guys see this?
Oh yeah, I put your camera up.
Look at this. I don't know about the one that plays the DVDs and stuff. Was that was
the Panasonic Q.
Yeah, it kind of went with what you said as far as the disc or the DVDs and stuff goes.
Yeah, it had
So I guess that was probably the better GameCube.
Yeah, it had an electric like tray that came out kind of like the PS2 did. You know how it had like that tray that came out for it?
Look at you.
Yeah, there's a game in there. I don't 007 something, I think. Yep.
You can't say this wasn't like
I never even played
the
that game.
coolest thing in the whole wide world. The small discs going into this thing.
So what I thought was actually cooler, I don't know if you knew this, but this piece here, I'm gonna put my camera up real quick. This piece right here,
Mm-hmm.
do you know that they made like different pieces? So it's actually really easy to do. There's two little prongs. Usually there's two little prongs. What's up with this one? This is missing it. There's supposed to be. That's so crazy. I wonder if this is like a special edition or something. There's normally two little prongs right here that you push in, and this piece pops out. And they made like a Donkey Kong one and a Mario one and a Peach one, and it's that whole circle there, and it just pops onto it.
Oh.
Interesting, but mine doesn't have it. But yeah, it had a high-speed port, it had a serial port, and everything in it. That was literally nothing. But
Storage space.
I can't remember. I don't think it's this one. I'm pretty sure it's this one. Yep, you'd pop that off, and then the Game Boy Player would pop on to the bottom of it. Made it about that much longer. There was a Game Boy Player disc you'd put in, and then you'd put your Game Boy Advance cartridges in the front. You could play your Game Boy Advance
Is
cartridges.
that like Pokemon Bank or Pokemon all that kind of stuff?
like Pokemon Stadium?
Yeah.
I
Kind of transferring over your
Yes, but it's actually better because what it would allow you to do is like say you were playing Pokemon, I don't know, Yellow or something, right? Sure. Say you were playing Pokemon Yellow or something, right? Mm-hmm. You could put Pokemon Yellow in the Game Boy Player on your GameCube and play it on your TV instead of in a Game Boy. I know that doesn't seem so like that doesn't feel so transformative now that we have the Switch because the Switch, and it was a gift. It doesn't feel that transformative because now we have the Switch, and that's the Switch's whole spiel.
Yeah.
You play it handheld and you plug it in, but at the time, like that was really cool. You know, that was a really cool thing that you could do.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it belongs right. I think it belongs there.
I love that.
You're cool with that?
Love
All right,
it.
there it is, friends. Now you can see where it belongs. Next to top of A. All right, next all right, we got the Wii and the Wii U.
I'll let you take those.
I hate the controls for the Wii, but it was a really good console. If you got an original Wii, I didn't put the other variants of the Wii. I should have, because there's also the Wii Mini. The Wii Mini sucks. So it has a manual tray on the top, and it doesn't have internet connectivity. Like you cannot. It's not like it, just doesn't have it built in, so you need an adapter. No, it doesn't work at all. No internet. So that's kind of
it's like the Switch Lite.
well, the Switch Lite does have internet connectivity.
Well, I mean, for the Switch, it's like the worst of the variants.
yes, but at least everything still works.
Mm-hmm.
Like, so what I mean is like the Switch Lite doesn't have Rumble and it can't dock, right? But it can still do everything else that a Switch does. The Nintendo Wii Mini can't play. It can't play Retro Console because it can't connect to the internet to download them. It can't watch Netflix or any of those other like channels or apps because it can't connect to the internet. And it also can't play GameCube games because only the first generation of the Wii could play GameCube games.
Can you pull that up? The Mini?
The Mini, yeah, I'll show you what it looks like. It's ugly.
Listen at you.
It's red. I mean, it's nothing. It's
I've
nothing to
seen
write home
that.
about. That's the Wii Mini. There were actually 3 different variants of it. But-
Wow.
Mhm.
I mean, it looks good. Looking at this one, I don't like that, but all the pictures look good.
Yeah,
And
but that's
this is
what it
how
really
looks.
looked like. It was kind of dull,
Ugh.
and that's how you put the disc in. The thing
Oh,
I did
cool.
like about it is you never get a disc stuck in that and everything. And this is the perfect design to have been able to play GameCube games. You just pop it right in there, but it doesn't support that. And everything else is the same, like what you would get. The coolest thing about it, I think, is the red nunchuck.
Yeah.
Red nunchuck and red Wii controller. That's pretty cool. And of course, that was the one there. Of course, it was always bundled with. You cannot get this at Walmart. It was always bundled with Mario Kart. So, and then there was the black one. The black one was pretty cool too, I think. So
Yeah,
anyway,
that's
that
nice.
was it. That was that one. But I think, I mean, if it's the original Wii, it played GameCube games. So you had to have a GameCube controller though, and they didn't let you control the cursor with the GameCube controller. So you still had to have your Wii Wiimote to even launch the GameCube emulator.
Time consuming.
It was and dumb, and so it was a good price, and I have had fun playing this game. Like Wii Sports is awesome. I love Wii Sports, but also like
I played Wind Waker on somebody's Wii. I don't know who it was, but
really,
it was the first time I played it. It was the absolute hardest game I ever played, just because of the controls. But I enjoyed it.
I think. So where do you think it belongs?
I didn't. I can't rate it.
You can't rate it.
No.
All right. Well, then it's up to me. It's gonna go here.
I agree.
Good. Wii U.
I can't rate it, but I agree. Hey.
How do you feel about that for the Wii U?
That's beautiful.
I actually think it's a pretty good system and some really good games on it. But they didn't differentiate it enough from the Wii. People didn't realize it was a different thing. They thought the Wii U was like that gamepad and it was an accessory for the Wii. And it's one of the worst selling consoles of all time. So much so, the only good thing about it being so bad is that since so few people had one, almost the entire library got ported to the Switch. Like just about every game that was on it. That's cool in some ways, but then also when you remember that, like say Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is a 10-year-old game.
Yeah.
And it's still getting DLC. Like when you look at things like that, it's like, there's not as much innovation, but it did a lot to boost the Switch library, I think. Which brings us up to the Nintendo Switch.
I can't do it.
I think it's...
I can't do the pop, the click.
I'm a little surprised that I'm going to say this. I really am. Well, Yeah, I'm a little surprised I'm going to say this, but I think this is an S tier console. Do you agree?
I do, but I'm kind of in the... I mean, I guess they could all be S tiers, but I'm, the OLED being the OLED.
See, I don't think that the Lite is an S tier. Like, just to get that conversation started. It doesn't have rumble. It doesn't dock. It's a smaller screen. It does have a real D-pad. I do like that.
Yeah.
And it honestly, have you ever played a Lite?
No.
You should see Mermaids before you leave.
I think I've seen it, and I've seen her play on it.
You should touch it, and like the button. What I'm getting at is that I like the way the buttons feel better. The D-pad is a real D-pad, has a nice rock, but ABXY are also, how they're really tactile on the Joy-Con? They're like softer. It feels more like the Pro Controller. It just feels really comfortable.
Okay.
I like the way it feels a lot. And honestly, as a handheld, if it had rumble, it probably would be the way that I prefer to play handheld because it's so light. No pun intended. Like it's super light. It's beautiful colors. It's just easy. It's just easy to carry around. It's really comfortable to hold. More comfortable because you know how the Joy-Cons, if you're not using a grip, how the Joy-Cons kind of have a little give to them also on the rail, just barely. But you can tell they come apart. It doesn't feel as solid as it could. The Switch Lite is not like that at all. It feels super solid. That being said, that is not an S tier console.
Yeah.
Honestly, technically, I shouldn't even have it on the list.
Wait.
Do what?
Wait. Don't treat them like that.
Well, I shouldn't because this is home consoles, right? And since it can't dock, it's only a handheld. It's actually not a home console.
All right, because you don't have portable on here. PSP on here.
Right. It's just home consoles, so nothing portable. So
Take
technically,
it off this
the
list.
the Lite shouldn't even exist, but it does because it's in the same family as these. But I should have deleted it. I can't do that right now, so it just has to stay there.
Switch up in A. I mean S. Switch in A.
Where in S do you think it belongs?
I can't even talk.
All right. It did not outsell the PS2.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it belongs there.
Look at that.
What do you think?
That's special.
Well,
Dude, that's I know it's blowing up. Like COVID kind of pushed it over the top. So,
but they're selling less now. Like Nintendo was actually disappointed with how few they sold this last year, and because it is at the end of its life. But it's had a good run. It honestly had a longer run than most consoles do, and it's still it's
what was
impressive.
that 17?
What's when this came out. I think 2017. The original one. And I will say that there's some variants that are better. Like there's the white box switch and the red box switch. The red box switch had a better battery, and so that's the one I have. But it's still basically the original Switch. The OLED is really the same thing. Has a better kickstand, slightly. It has better positioned speakers, and it has an OLED screen.
Yeah.
But I actually don't think it deserves as high of a rating as the original because it didn't really change anything. It's just gimmicky. It got more expensive, and the screen is beautiful because OLEDs do look good, but it is also still 720p, and so I don't love that. So I don't. It could still deserve to be an S tier. I just don't know if it beats the original.
Yeah. And I guess kind of when it was coming out, when they were announcing it and everything, we were hoping for
more power,
and the looks of it, and Nintendo to change forever. But that didn't happen. So, I think it can fall in. I'm just glad there's stuff over that PlayStation 2. I just don't know why. No, keep going. Yeah, put it up there.
Do you think the OLED deserves to be higher than the PS2? If I were putting it somewhere, I'd put it there. I would. I almost put
like
it here.
I like it. Yeah.
And the reason being is that it just didn't change enough as an upgrade.
Yeah.
Like you can get everything here, including the dockability, and the price went up. If it were the same price as this one, I think I'd have to put it here.
Yeah.
But I just don't think it changed enough. And then I put it in between. I almost put it here, but the PS5 just beats it out in every way other than portability, with the potential for them to beat it out in portability depending on how the Project Q turns out.
You know something that would have been really crazy with the Switches?
What's that?
The kind of slight different look of the little discs. That'd been crazy.
What do you mean?
The little game discs.
Cartridge?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I did say disc, then coach. It'd be crazy because a lot of different small minor changes happened to the OLED versus the original. But I guess that would be like more money and more time consuming, and none needed to have a different look at the cartridge.
And it also wouldn't make sense because they're the same generation. Like everything you put in your OLED, if you made it so that those games won't work in my Switch, the launch Switch, then you've made a new console.
You're preaching.
Now, will we see that in whatever Nintendo's new hardware is? Yes, I think that's what they did. If you think of the DS and the 3DS, the 3DS is fatter and has a little notch, and so you can't put those in a 3D or a regular DS. But because of the way they did the cartridges like that, just making it slightly wider with that notch, you can put DS cartridges in a 3DS and have reverse compatibility. What I would like to see, since the Switch library is so big, is something like that, where the cartridge gets maybe wider or something, but whatever the next thing is, it can still play my Switch games. That's what I'd like to see.
What are you planning, Nintendo?
Who knows? They got to be getting close on it, though. I think Switch Lite is... We're not even going to put it in the list because it doesn't count. But if I had to put it in the list, I'd put it in B. It just takes so much... It just takes so much away from it. All right. You want to do Xbox or you want to do Sega next?
It doesn't matter because both I don't really have much experience in.
I think we can blast through Sega pretty well.
Yeah.
Sega Genesis does what Nintendo don't. That was their whole slogan and everything. I think it is... That even being the case, though, I don't think it's as good.
Okay.
It had games like it had the Mortal Kombat and things like
this
that
is
on
original.
it,
I hated those two buttons, but you're able to do what you needed to do on
it made a lot of sense
Mortal
for
Kombat
fighters
and stuff. So yeah,
because if you think about it, they were trying to imitate especially with they made two different versions of the controllers. They made like the 6-button one later, and they were imitating like a gamepad, like what you would see in arcades. And you had all the buttons for all the different moves.
Makes sense.
It does, to the point that they still make this type of controller even for like newer PlayStations and everything. There's like a modular one that's on the market right now, so that you can have that fight pad type of experience and get those buttons. So that helps out a lot.
Yeah.
Okay. I think we'll blast through it. So what's that? Dreamcast, and what else is left in Sega? Sega Saturn.
I feel like Dreamcast was big.
Dreamcast was big, and it used Halifax, a Halifax analog stick. Do you remember? You know what that is? It's got
a
a
spaceship.
No, it's really it's all the way at rave right now because it uses magnets instead of like rubbing pieces of plastic against pieces of plastic in the analog stick. It uses magnets to sense where the position of the magnet or of the end of the joystick is, which means that you don't have moving parts rubbing against each other wearing. Technically, magnets can lose their strength. So this idea that they'll never drift, I think, is wrong. A lot of people are saying that you cannot get drift from it. But so I don't think that's true. But what I do think is true, because there's not drift happening with these Dreamcast controllers, is that because there's no wear, and because of how long it takes for magnets to lose their strength, you're gonna be way you're gonna be way past the generation by the time it does start drifting. Like it's just gonna last so long. So that's my opinion on that. I think it's pretty good. I would put the Dreamcast. I never owned one.
Yeah. Me neither.
So that's hard because it kind of means we probably should put it in no experience. But I do know a lot about it, and it's a lot of people's favorites. And I know about that analog stick. It had a funky controller, but it played games like Sega, like what was it, Sonic CD and stuff. You know what? Let's put it here. But let's put the Saturn in no experience. You agree with that?
Yeah, man. I'm like, what in the world is that?
It's Sega Saturn. It was like
is that the one with the six buttons?
No. Well, yes, it did have 6, but remember that was a controller they released for the Genesis also. So that you could have that fight pad. All right, we blew through Sega really quickly. You ready for Xbox?
Let's do it. Because I got all. Is that? Yeah, I got all the experience in the world with Xboxes. Here we go.
Here we go. The original Xbox.
A.
You think?
I'm just trying to see where you put PlayStation, the first PlayStation. You did the PlayStation Pro and A.
Okay, so I think the Xbox's original controller, the Duke, was really stupid, and so I don't know. The Xbox was really on par. If you're looking like generation to generation comparison, it was really there with the PS2. It was competing with PS2, and then the 360 was competing with they're kind of in between each other. So the 360 was competing with the PS3, but also the PS2,
and also itself.
Yeah, because there's a bunch of versions of it. All right, It wasn't that good. I've played the old Halos. They are fun, but they're more fun in like the newer versions of them. So that being the case, I think I would place it right there. Any objections?
No.
All right. Now Xbox 360. This one gets interesting. This arcade version. Which one's the arcade? This one right here. It was very prone to get the red ring of death and break, and so that being the case, I think I have to put it at the top of D tier.
Nice.
But this one was pretty decent, and I loved the hard drive on it. It would get red ring occasionally, but not too bad.
You put it at C.
I played a good bit of Minecraft on this. I would, yes, but behind the Wii U.
Okay.
This is the Xbox 360 Elite. It's actually one that's on my shelf right now. It had disk drive issues. But
everybody had that though, right?
Yeah, it was pretty common because you had moving parts, and they started putting them up on their side.
Yeah.
So it was really weird. Like the PS2 also had that issue. But this is the best three. Well, I never had this newest version of the 360. That they released this after the Xbox One came out to make it look more Xbox One-ish. But that console behind me, it was really good. It was a really good console. I had a good time with it, and it was pretty repairable. Like I said, I had disk issues, and so I actually took that out, cleaned it, put it back in there, and it worked. It just worked fine. That's the 360 Elite. That's the one that we're talking about.
No, what's this?
Oh, that's for a memory card, or it's okay. USBs are behind it, but it got rid of the regular memory card slot, but it had a USB port there where you could put one in. And then this thing at the top right here was the hard drives for it. That one takes an internal hard drive that just pops into the top, so it stayed really sleek. I think that was a really good system, and I think that I would put it up here with the. I think I'd put it here. That was the good one. That was the good one.
And it was, that's
and
good.
This one I think is probably just the same, but I don't think it looks as good. So but I'm just going to put it in no experience.
Okay.
because it didn't really do anything. Oh, other benefits here. This had an HDMI port, 1080p HD. These were composite, so you could still get HD out of it, but you had to use the composite cables, so that was different.
Oh, new look.
I didn't like the new look was also HDMI, but I didn't love it. All right, now we're in the Xbox Ones. Xbox One original, I really don't think was that good, and it was too expensive. It came bundled with the Kinect. I really don't think it was that good. I think I'd have to put it. I think it's better than the Wii U. I'd have to put it there. I think the Xbox One S, and you just stop me if you have any disagreements, okay? I think the Xbox One S, it's the one that I had. It was cool. It made a little bit of noise. It was really good. Hey, we got Loki in the chat. What's up? Hey, you just made your way into the web show.
Hey, Loki.
Little podcast where we're ranking these systems. I think I'd have to. I think this is a good system. I think this would have to be
Which one is that?
the Xbox One S.
Oh, okay.
I think this is there. What do you think?
Loki said, as long as Switch is S, I agree.
Not everyone. We actually opted to not put the Switch Lite even in there. We're going to leave it at the bottom because I put it in the list, but this is a home console ranking, and since you can't dock it, it's technically not even a home console. So, okay.
Wait,
what do you think
that?
about the Xbox One S in A tier, right behind the PS4 Pro?
Was it competing? Both of those are competing?
Kind of. The One X was really the answer to the PS4 Pro.
Both of those were in the same
generation.
Yes.
Yeah. This was like the Slim, if you will, and this was like the Pro model, the Xbox One X. So,
which one is an F tier game?
I want to know that too. What are your thoughts on the One X?
Oh, the
non-dock Switch?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't say that with Mermaid, though.
She'd probably agree.
You think?
She played most of Dreamlight and everything on my Switch, so she could play it on the TV. So she would agree.
Cool.
But it was cheap, and at the time, she plays handheld most of the time anyway.
Uh-huh.
I tried to push her towards a regular Switch because I was like, yeah, I can, and then you get the option, but she'll probably mostly play my Switch once the new hardware comes out, whatever that is. All right, just going to throw it out there. I think I'm just going to throw them out there. The Series S is better than the OLED, but not as good. Oh, actually. But not as good as the PS5 disc. All right, I'm just hot swapping. You tell me what you think, Topaz. I'm just throwing them in here. You ready? And you move them around however you want. I think that
What's that one?
Xbox One X, which these two were basically the same thing, except this had an overclocked Jaguar CPU, which allowed you to play games at 4K. This one would stream and watch videos at 4K, but it played at 1080 still. However, later in its life, I started being able to play games at 4K on it. I don't think it did a lot, and it was fairly expensive, but it is more powerful. You know what? I'm going to throw it here. And I'm going to throw that there. What are your thoughts?
PS2 is God tier. Nintendo 64 also godly.
I have to disagree there. That's the worst console ever made.
No, it's not, dude.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. What did he say? He also said Series S is A tier.
I can't agree.
Look, Loki,
I
don't have Xbox experience,
So I can go into why the Series S is better. So especially now that there is a 1 terabyte version, it is digital only. So think about it in the terms of like PS5 digital only. But like I said, especially because of Game Pass, no one's actually buying physical Xbox games anymore. Like that's not happening. This game, it is it's still current gen. It's 1440p, but it's nearly as powerful as the Xbox Series X, but it's $200 cheaper. It's $200 cheaper. It's super small, super compact, super quiet, and I just don't think that the idea of like physical games, even though I love physical games, I don't think that is enough to pull it down anymore, because I have an Xbox Series X right here. It has a disc drive. I have put a disc in it one time in the entire 3 years. Yeah, right. Well, 2.5 years that I've had it, and it was an Xbox 360 game, and I could have played that on my Xbox One or my Xbox 360 behind me. So if you want to play old catalog games like Mr. Whittier Jones got a Series X because he still plays a lot of his old Xbox games, that makes a lot of sense for him for the disc drive. But if you don't, or especially if you're looking for a secondary console to add to your lineup, people are sleeping on the Series S, but the Series S is very capable. That's the one that I would recommend to you. If you, of course, you have to take Game Pass with a grain of salt as well, because Game Pass is available everywhere, really. Like you can play it on your PC if you've got a PC. You don't even have to have a strong PC because you can stream it. You can stream it on your phone. You can stream it to your laptop, to your TV, to your tablet. And so a lot of that value that it gives the Series S, it also gives everything. But the Series S definitely streams it well. If you want to play a game that's like X intended, Series X and S intended, and it doesn't play well for some reason, you can still stream it to it. I'm giving the X slightly more sheerly because of slightly more power. And I'd have to give the PlayStation 5 disc more than the Xbox, because Xbox has nearly no exclusives. And the exclusives that it does take are bad. And the PlayStation has really, really good exclusives. So, okay, here's the thing. You're absolutely correct. So Loki said the controller still needs batteries, but the controller is also $15 cheaper than the PlayStation 1. The PlayStation 1 can do more because of the DualSense and everything, and I appreciate the rechargeability of the battery, but that did make it more accessible to the consumer and cheaper. And to be completely fair, if you're a real Xbox fan, my Xbox controller doesn't need batteries either, and it has a 40-hour battery life, which is, what is that, 4 or 5 times what a PlayStation controller has.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. What isn't the DualSense controller 6 hours?
I think you know better than I do.
I think it's a 6-hour battery life, and the Elite controller is a 40-hour battery life. So that's my thoughts there. And I'm not even an Xbox fanboy. I think what they're doing as far as their games and everything is bad. It's bad. Like they're just not giving us anything. And so even though I love that controller, and mine has drift, I'll give it that. Even though I love that controller, I actually think this is the superior controller to the DualSense at the moment. This DualShock 4, it's more comfortable to me. I really love this controller. I use it for everything. And no, you always been unbiased. I appreciate that. But yeah, anywho, it's just, even though I like this console so much, I guess what I'm saying, and this controller, I really don't need that Xbox, like, because my PC does the rest.
Yeah,
I'm about to turn it on for my Hellblade playthrough, even though it would play slightly better on my PC, only because I don't want to put 100 gigabytes of something on my PC because I've been doing so much work on it. So since I've been doing so much work, like, I'll just store it on this because it's nothing but a gaming device anyway, and that's how I'll do it. So, you got anything to add, T?
No, man. I think we got a good thing going on here.
I think so too. We went a little bit longer than we planned, but of course we had all kinds of tech issues and everything. Send me that GameCube though. I gotta clean GameCube.
Yeah, we just looked through it. Looked at it close up. It's really nice.
Well, chat, thank you so much. Like I said, this is the live presentation, our first live episode of the web show so far. If you enjoyed this or you're listening back audio only, we're live every Tuesday and Thursday at 7 p.m. Eastern time on twitch.tv/WebbyPumpkin, as well as kick.com/WebbyPumpkin. My name is Webby Pumpkin everywhere, so you can find me on YouTube and Twitter by that name as well. Would love for you guys to follow and hang out there. And hey, if you're watching back, this is the first video episode on YouTube with Topaz.
Yeah.
So thank you guys for being here and watching there. Definitely hit that like button. Rate us 5 stars wherever you're listening. That helps out the platform a lot. And thank you guys so much for being here. T, do you have anything you'd like to add, bud?
No.
I am Loki. We're on Kick. We stream there co-stream as the backup plan for if something crazy happens to and if some crazy happens with Twitch, because Twitch be being crazy. Thank you so much for being here. Hey, it's good to see you. Sorry I wasn't more active in chat, you guys. It's because this is kind of geared towards offline content in general, but it's good to see you, Loki. Really, really good to see you. And I see you on the dark side. Sounds like a plan, man. It's good to see you. He's also a great Pokemon fan. Y'all would get along, dude. Y'all get along so well. But love that dude. Love you guys. Thank you so much. And yeah, peace out. See you guys.